Let's get started. First of all, once again, thank you all for coming together. Thank you for being here. Today is an important day for us. It's like the birthday of our project, which we've been working on for quite a long time. And it's not by chance that we've spent so much time on it. It all came from a genuine desire to create something large scale, something good, and something that can truly be brought to life. And as a result, we have shaped our project into a network called ELNET. Based on my personal conversations with each of you who came to this meeting today, I was able to identify certain needs. In other words, a certain desire in life, a certain mood, a particular perspective on the things happening around us. And accordingly, a dream that each of us would like to realize in our own lives. And ELNET is, essentially, a system, first and foremost, that will allow us to distribute $6 billion among ourselves. This is possible because we will be able to provide digital resources to ourselves, meaning we won't have to buy them from corporations. In other words, we ourselves will become a part of something much bigger. By selling the digital resources of ELNET, we will be able to generate income for ourselves. And this amount of digital resources is exactly what we want. In the end, the 500,000 servers we plan to deploy will be enough to successfully launch a truly fully functional and beneficial artificial intelligence that doesn't program or control us, but instead genuinely helps and assists us, that doesn't extensively collect personal data about us, but rather provides us with valuable and insightful data. And that is ELNET itself. If we talk about its main social mission, again, in conversations with each of you, I identified certain problems that you yourselves mentioned. So these are, first of all, identity theft. What does that mean? It's when personal data is stolen, when your phone number or email is taken. This creates all the conditions for online scammers. This kind of situation arises because we entrust our data to those who can't keep it safe, and they do nothing about it. They're fine with things as they are. And there are people in the world who actually do something. That's really the case. It's just that we can't tell them apart, meaning we confuse one with the other. Well, if we talk about other problems, yes, besides these scammers that everyone knows about, there are also issues created for businesses. This is all about content. Just imagine that now the data is stored on the server of, say, the State Revenue Service, all the company's data, for example, because it's not kept within the company itself. So everything is stored there. If I want to compete with Google, it turns out that I have to build a strategy. It's on his desktop. If our goal is to truly live and develop a business and not just play around with toys in some kind of sandbox, here within the city, it's essential to keep your secrets safe. And today, businesses don't have that. As a specialist in this field, I can state this. Social problems are, well, we can also pretend that nothing is happening at all, that social engineering doesn't exist, that there are no manipulations, that we don't fall for advertising, that we don't change our worldview based on the content we spend 60% of our time on in our phones, and that we're not losing touch with each other. We can pretend that. But in reality, it's a problem. And it's the kind of problem that actually threatens the extinction of humanity. And I'm being completely serious. So ELNET is a comprehensive answer to all of this. At the same time, despite the scale of what I've just described, its implementation is incredibly simple. I could have already implemented it, probably back in 2021. I already had the solution back then. And simply, based on what happened next, based on the understanding of how everything around us actually works, and also what happens to providers of private solutions, how they stop being providers of private solutions, well, it was necessary to figure out a lot of details, and from that, a strategy of action was developed. Where, first and foremost, we simply need to audit. In general, we need to audit what we have. This is a solvable task. Just pay the tech guys and that's it. The audit will be done. And then combine the best solutions into a server. Why a server? Because it's simpler. There's no need to explain it with science or space or anything like that. You set it up at home, turn it on, and that's it. And then the third step is to convince 500,000 people to protect themselves and earn passive income. In other words, whoever hears about it will come. So these slides are probably more for reading. I won't dwell on it. I've already explained everything. I want to say to the tech specialists who are here now that we will simply choose the best solutions in the world in an objective way, using a list of criteria. We'll justify, test, launch, hold a hackathon, launch everything publicly, and be able to gather the best into one firmware and explain why it's the best. And then this builds trust that this really is the best. There's nothing like it in the world. The goal is for it to be a fully functional computer, a server. For an ordinary person, meaning somewhere they can use this computer either through a remote screen or simply by connecting a monitor and mouse, or alternatively, use it as a server. That is, one that can rent out its digital resources and handle all personal correspondence and communications for each of its owners. In other words, it just needs to be a device that bypasses all blocks, which, well, does this by searching for other similar devices. And if at least one of them has access to the required site, then all the devices will be able to as well through this. So, for example, one device can get there, and in this way, it's better than a VPN. You won't need a VPN at all. It's all in one. A ready-to-use computer for private work on the internet. If you want to surf anonymously, you can. If you want to use Telegram anonymously, you can do that too. If you want to communicate so that no one knows your conversations, you can. You'll also be able to earn money because the digital resources will be rented out. And there's also a cold wallet. You'll also be able to join the crypto world because we'll choose the best technologies among them. We'll talk to Buterin if needed and to other blockchain providers as well. We already have connections. We'll sort things out with everyone and choose the best option. That's it. And in the end, we'll have a product that can be installed as firmware on any computer, turning it into a node of our network, or you can buy a ready-made node in any store we make an agreement with to sell it. So the main thing is, the potential of this project, let me say it again, is 500,000 servers, which is a huge amount. I won't say it like Tinkoff, but that's 38 exaflops and over 1 exabyte. An exabyte is a terabyte, a petabyte, and then an exabyte. That's 1024 terabytes, which is 1 petabyte. 1024 petabytes is 1 exabyte of storage space. So just imagine how many documents you can store in it. For example, at home on my computer, I have 1 terabyte, say, on my Mac, but this is storage available to all of us. Why would we need Google Docs then? Why would we need to store our data somewhere else if we can keep it all on our own home servers? Cyber protection. In other words, as long as you stay within the network, nothing happens. Just don't trust the internet, and you'll protect yourself from cybercrime. Within ELNET, we have enough space to create something like a regulator. And whoever passes our regulator gets access to the ELNET network. So we filter out all the junk and leave only those who genuinely want to create truly high quality and private solutions for people. And in this way, we provide this shield in the form of cyber protection. That is, inside ELNET, everything is safe. No one is collecting data. That's it. Forget it. Next question. Safe AI is the key point. We're all going crazy. Already 50% of the world's population has lost it. Tomorrow, it will already be 65%. This is a serious problem. So it's safe, and that's it. It exists, yes, meaning we can't undo it anymore. Well, so what does it do if it's for superpowers? So what is it for then? And the second thing is the knowledge base is the knowledge of humanity. We see how knowledge is being rewritten, how books are being edited, how editions change, how access to old editions is lost, how it's nearly impossible to find them on the internet. Now, everything is just stored on Amazon. But we want independence for everyone because knowledge is light. Those who don't know live in darkness. And this is one of the most important missions. That is simply so that people wouldn't need to be told anything, so that people would have the knowledge themselves. It's that simple. But the goal is that a network of 500,000 devices is something you can't destroy with a single missile, because it's spread all over the world. This is an even safer way to preserve humanity's knowledge than the way it's stored now. This is access to knowledge for everyone. And a safe AI, together with this knowledge, plus an AI in the form of a professor in any science, will be able to provide education to any person in the world. Without attending school, without attending any other educational institutions, in whatever learning format is most convenient for them. That's awesome. And secondly, well, actually, fourthly, this is our economy. We've forgotten that we can interact with each other directly without all sorts of bureaucracy if we trust one another. Right now, no one trusts each other, but we'll prove that in a private network, there won't be any other option. That's it. Only trust. The economy, that is, like I said, everyone has a cold wallet on their server. And that says it all. So yes, we can then automatically earn profit from selling our digital capacities, and we can transfer it from there, and we can also store our crypto there. I mean, why keep it on exchanges and so on? So, well, there are a lot of different conveniences, yes, that our internal community creates. And the most important point for me, that is the reason why I created this linear system in the first place. I mean, I thought it all through, and it took so much time. We expect 255 million a year to go towards innovation. This is a fundamental issue for me because it's impossible to attract money. Basically, either you say, I'm your bitch, or frankly, you don't get the money. And that's just wrong because I want these 250 million to go to people on different terms. I just know creative people. I know what brilliant ideas come to people's minds, how talented people are, and they have no opportunity to show it. Unfortunately, that's the case today, but it will change. And this is exactly the good that I sincerely want to bring to life. But the sovereign web is already something that can't be turned off here. It's a kind of system, a sovereign one, as it turns out. So why is it difficult, right? I mean, we're not playing inside someone else's monopoly, are we? We're creating our own thing. And this kind of network won't be tied down. Ultimately, not to ELIBRI at all. So it's not like there's an organization that controls everything. ELIBRI is you, everyone who's gathered here, anyone at all. We could even exist without a legal entity. It's just that others don't understand this approach. But ELIBRI is a group of like-minded people who want to bring this to life. And to create a network that can't be shut down by some centralized authority, that's the sovereignty that will allow us to set our own rules so that we decide ourselves under which rules this information space we create will operate. This is the information space that we will create, the way we want it. Now, it's possible to think about this. People are starting to have a choice. And so this is probably more interesting for investors, right? To know that we are covering 4 main markets, the biggest ones, which we've shown on this chart. Crypto, DeFi, since we have our own crypto, and all that, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and cloud computing. In general, our business plan aims to reach 6 billion, as I mentioned at the very beginning, in a $4 trillion market. Well, that's actually quite modest, I would say. So we have a huge potential to grow even further. So we're in a very convenient, we find ourselves with this project at a very right time. How we will take our share, this tiny percentage, 6 billion in a 4 trillion market. On this slide, we can see our unique selling proposition, a comparison between big tech and 3 other projects. So it's neither one nor the other. It's us. We are building our own data centers. We're creating our own local network. I know how Web3 works there. I know how big tech works. I'll just take it. I'll take the best and most interesting things from them, audit everything, and put it all together. This data center is for us. And a lot of tech specialists are helping me with this. They're already helping. It's simply the most talented people who want to make this a reality. So let's move on. That is our go-to market strategy. So the previous slide shows that with these advantages, we can claim our 6 billion in a 4 trillion market. It's just obvious. But we need the market to find out about us. And this slide explains how the market will learn about us. Literally today or tomorrow, or as soon as we agree with the team here, we'll start broadcasting live. That is, we'll simply be telling everyone how we're moving forward, how we're attracting new participants, how we're making deals, who liked us, who we liked, what we've achieved, what the next step we've completed is. Here's our roadmap and how we're following it. This will be an absolutely transparent and honest approach. We don't want to deceive anyone. We genuinely want to have security. And in this way, just from experience and judging by those who are already at this meeting, we will gather 1,024 founding members. These are the people who will create the project. We're simply pooling our resources for this. And in fact, many people have already contributed and helped us get to where we are today. And from here, it will only get better and bigger because now we have a concrete action plan, which we didn't have before while we were still conducting these studies. Next, according to our plan, we will release our firmware. So we gather the founding members, release the firmware, and of course, we need the whole world to test it. So we launch our testnet and the whole world tests it. At the same time, we give out shares in our business for testing. This is built into our economic model. And accordingly, it's kind of a freebie for the crypto world. So naturally, everyone will want to try it out, test it, break it, give feedback, do something. And this is how the testnet gets taken over. But in the end, after fending off all of this and choosing the best the world has to offer, we create a product that ensures privacy. And we enter the privacy market, first and foremost. We simply provide a solution that delivers cybersecurity as if it was never even a problem. And then, when we have these servers in different homes, let's say 10,000 for example, we gain computing power that we can rent out. And we get a startup market where companies will rent your servers. Why will they rent your servers? Because I talk to startups, to co-founders, and they're all for peace all over the world. They're all harmless. They're all just rays of sunshine. Let's put it that way. But everyone pays corporations so their startup can function. So we can offer, why pay corporations when you can pay people? These 6 billion, how do we transfer them from corporations to people? Well, it's obvious. I mean, for startups, if they say, if everything works just as well for me, then why should I really pay there if I can pay here? That's when our network starts to fill up. And when it fills up, mass adoption kicks in. That is, we're no longer offering our service for privacy or because it makes money, those cheap takes that everyone's tired of, but simply because, damn, some service has launched there and I really want to use it. That's it. That's why I bought myself a box and set it up. And the more services there are inside, the more people will get involved organically, just from the growth of our data center, from our network. One more financial slide and cash flow, and we'll go through this very briefly. We sell firmware, we sell digital capacity, we sell services within the network. 2027, 71 million, 400 million, 2.4 billion, and 6 billion in 2030. This is the forecast we've calculated today. We have a business plan. These aren't just numbers pulled out of thin air. Well, there's Danis, as I'll talk about him later. So, in general, as I said, we're a scientific community. We don't deceive ourselves. So, basically, Libri today, yes, as a community, we have invested a total of almost 2.5 million in research. All of this, all together. 7 years, and we've gathered 100 followers, 100 like-minded people who I know for sure truly want to see this come to life. And as a result, with these resources, we conducted research, created the core of the technology, built a prototype in the form of a black box. Here it is in the picture, and essentially wrote all the documentation and opened the doors for new participants. Before that, it was different. I couldn't say anything specific, and I only invited those with whom I had established a genuine, heartfelt connection. Well, these people, for example, are some of them. Yes, some of these people. So, of course, that genuine connection just happened naturally. It was Andre who insisted that I be given so much space on this slide. I was embarrassed, but in the end, we left it as it is. So I'll tell you a little about myself. I'm from Riga. When I was 14, I started breaking and configuring my home computer. And at 14, I also started going to internet cafes to play games and then to set up those internet cafes. At 16, I opened my own internet cafe. At 17, it was first on Vilgutsemsi, then it moved to Merkala. 3. The internet cafe was called Orange. It was my internet cafe, and I hung out with various IT veterans. They're still around now. None of these people have gone anywhere, and I know them. These are the people who essentially built the internet infrastructure in Latvia. I know how everything works at this scale, and these people support us. And yes, this was when I was in my 20s. I had a company called Arcana. Some people from Riga might know it too. We had about 60 people there. At its peak, it was like a rocket launcher. Now we were launching startups, fixing all sorts of different computers. Basically, we had startups like VirtuSim, Roamer, Flirter, Family Sky. For the past 7 years, I have been living in the Canary Islands, working on Blackbox, ELNET, and scientific research. Overall, I also run retreats and tend to a garden, growing things. So I have a strong interest in science, and I'm fascinated by inventing things. All of us here are talented guys. If someone didn't make it into the frame, sorry about that. So lately, most of our communication has been mainly with these guys. And Dinis, well, he's a born organizer, an incredibly patient and calm person. He's an economist, a lawyer, in general, just an excellent operations guy. In other words, he's absolutely solid, just like Andre. But he's from marketing, he's the director and the former chief editor of LPCL Latvia magazine. He's also a very creative and talented person, just like Vadim, who is responsible for our technical direction. Sophia is our talented researcher. If there's any information missing, she gathers it very quickly. Konstantin handles our legal matters. He's a real pillar of support for us. Konstantin makes sure we know what's allowed and what's not. And Hannah helps Konstantin. She has an entire law firm with 30 people there. And in fact, we easily find the necessary information on various laws, which is why I included her here. That's it. Why are we making ELNET? Well, as I said, as an inventor, which I wish for you to be as well, I just singled out 3 things that, well, more precisely, I would say 3 things that give a headache to everyone I talk to personally. Well, in order to do something, I mean, when I talk to entrepreneurs, not everyone, just entrepreneurs specifically, I don't have enough money to do something, okay? Second, I don't have enough contacts or connections. Can you introduce me? I hear that a lot. And third, there's not enough security. So ELNET for us, for ELIBRI, for those who want to create it, provides all of this. It gives me and each of us in the end, because we'll be able to hire lawyers and economists of that caliber with the money. We'll create digital security for ourselves. No one will be able to eavesdrop on us. We'll create financial independence and passive income for ourselves. Everything gets solved. And this can be a parallel story for each of you. I'll do everything. Just to contribute a little bit. For those who haven't done it yet, this is a call to action. You can do it with money, with your mind, or with your time. We can discuss all of this, but The simplest way is just to give money as usual. We invite you to visit the ELIBRIA.io website or to have a personal conversation with me. You can do it either automatically, or we can just talk and agree on how to do it, because I'll say it again, for me, the main thing is that the tasks ahead get solved. We have a lot planned there, and it requires a lot of money. It's needed, and it's important that the money comes in when it's needed. So let's truly bring this fascinating idea to life, or at the very least, give it a genuine try, because you absolutely won't hear anything quite like this from anyone else in the entire world. And how are we going to divide all of this? There is a legal basis for this so that everyone can feel at ease. How is this usually done? Investors invest. Or I found myself a co-founder, and we started a company together. For example, I have 30% and he has 70%. We go to a notary, we go to the commercial register, and we specify in the documents that, for example, 10,000 shares are issued. He gets 7,000 shares, and I get 3,000 shares, which makes it 70% for him and 30% for me. It's insane how bureaucratic this procedure is. It's just not worth spending time on it. Time. After all, there is another way. A system just in another country in the Marshall Islands. There is a DAO system. It gives you the same thing, only through the purchase of tokens. We also issue from this DAO, but instead of 10,000 shares, it's 1 billion. And so who has how many? Tokens. That's the share of the business they have. This means dividends, this means control, this means management, this means ownership. It's all exactly the same. You just don't have to go through all that bureaucracy. It's enough to buy tokens. That's your share. Essentially, that's your stake in the business, and that's why we're setting up the company in the Marshall Islands. It's just simpler than what they're offering in Europe. Now, as for how we'll divide the profits, it's all written here in a complicated way, but I can explain it more simply. When the money comes in, let's imagine how much money we want to make. Our plan is to earn 6 billion. Let's keep that in mind. And say, I put in 10,000, so I won't be getting a huge share of the income. Even with 10,000, a lot will come in. Let's say, I don't know, as long as 10,000 is coming in, everything's fine in the account. It's not a big deal. You can keep it in dollars or euros. Nothing happens. Suppose 50,000 comes into the account. Well, probably still nothing happens. But if more than 100,000 accumulates, say $500,000 in the account, doesn't it get scary that the bank only guarantees up to $100,000? Or is it scary? Because that means the money isn't really there. They can only guarantee you 100 grand. So where do you keep your money? Then this slide explains where to keep your money. We will centrally hire experts, launch our own AI, the right one, and with the profit we earn from selling digital capacities, we will buy LP tokens. These are liquidity provider tokens. These are tokens that have some inherent value behind them. This is what, for example, Bezos does. This is what any economist does. They don't keep their money in dollars. All their money is held in various assets. And we need to provide ourselves with a professional team that manages our money so that we can buy and hold these assets properly. Some things will increase in value, some will remain stable in price, but we will never take risks. We will set all these rules ourselves. But in the end, our company starts accumulating assets in the form of LPs, tokens, and these are assets. We package them into a kind of digital asset container, each worth $20. We send them to cold wallets for each of our servers. All of this is done automatically right away. The money comes in and gets split up. While this valuable digital asset is securely stored within a cold wallet, it does not yet represent distributed profits or dividends. Instead, it signifies direct ownership of a portion of the company's underlying assets and resources, thereby establishing the individual as a legitimate co-owner of the enterprise. So, just like my personal funds are safely held within my cold wallet, specifically in the form of ELBITs, this method provides an exceptionally secure and reliable means to store one's financial holdings, in stark contrast to traditional banking institutions, which often carry different risks and operational structures. And it's even safer, I would say. Our task is to choose the best option. And I can unpack these ELBITs from the containers and sell LP tokens on the exchange myself. And as soon as I do that, I pay dividends, because that's when I actually withdraw the money. But ELBIT itself isn't money, it's the value of our company. So how will all of this increase in value for us? I also won't go too deep into this question. That is, everyone can read up on it themselves. But the point is that we have projections. For example, that our share will grow in value from 6 cents to $17 over 5 years. And that's not even taking any speculation into account. This is purely organic growth in value because our network is growing and showing more and more profit. We divide the profit among all of these shares. We divide it. So if I, for example, bought a share in the project today for 6 cents and it starts bringing me $1 a month, then it can't possibly still be worth 6 cents, right? It's just math. Why would I sell something for 6 cents if it's bringing me $1? And if, for example, I have, say, 500,000 of these tokens, and together they can bring me, I don't know, maybe $10,000 a month, why would I sell them? Or even wait, $17. If I can already live comfortably, what would I even spend those extra dollars on? So this slide explains that any contribution, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, grows in value as our project develops, thanks to certain understandable factors. Unlike everything else that's currently on the crypto market and even the regular market. And a small comparison. Why do we compare ourselves to Bitcoin? It's precisely because of what Bitcoin promised when it first appeared. It promised us freedom from centralized printing presses, it promised us free trade, and it promised even more. In other words, there were a lot of promises, but none of them exist today. Bitcoin is simply a tool for speculation, controlled by whales who can move the market up or down whenever they want. These are just wealthy people, yes, and some are less wealthy. That's what Bitcoin is today. And it's definitely not the place where I'd want to keep my money. Well, at least not in the long term. Sure, there are players who can make money, yes. That is, until they lose other people's money. And then basically everything ends badly. But I don't want to play. I want stability. I want to make ELNET a stable source of value and funds for the implementation of future projects for each of us. So why should we play? Why take these risks if we can create something that others can play with? And that's our roadmap. So April 2026, we will evaluate our intellectual property and transfer everything to a new legal entity which we now need to establish. By October 2026, we will create an MVP of our network consisting of 1,024 devices and conduct another testnet, which I mentioned earlier. By March 2027, we will reach 10,000 devices in the network, and that will mean we will start selling capacity at that point. Next, by April 2028, we will grow to 100,000 devices in the network, and that means the project will become unstoppable, which is exactly what we need. So we need to reach this point as quickly as possible, ideally even faster than what is written here. And by June 2030, we will have accomplished everything we set out to do. We will become fully legal and the world will accept us. We will simply be an alternative network with 500,000 plus devices connected. The last slide is about how we want to set an example for existing institutional investors who have become overly cautious and now look at inventors and projects very aggressively. They are tightening the screws a lot. They simply don't understand how to present metrics. They don't want to lose money, which is understandable. I mean, they've lost money many times. After all, they're wrong 95% of the time. All investors constantly lose money, and that's why they're so bitter. But in our case, we have our expertise plus our own money, and investments truly go into socially significant projects. So we can set a real example, not just in words, but literally. Like how these people could use their own money. And that's the main point. The result is that maybe the world will start to look at everything differently, at what's happening around us, and our children will end up with not the Matrix, but a world where technology serves people, not the other way around. Not a Black Mirror, but a white one.